Today we're going over the 10.8 refines in Fire Emblem Heroes. This month we have new skills for Jeralt, Colm, Tine, Summer Ashe, and Ascended Mareeta. First up, Jeralt is a heroic Grail Lance Cavalier on the slower side, but he's right in that patient speed range if you want to use that skill. Jeralt's Breaker Lance has been updated. At start of turn and after acting, inflict -7 attack speed and defense, panic, and sabotage on foes with the highest attack speed and defense. These debuffs will then spread out to anyone within 2 spaces of those foes. Now Jeralt will also get +3 flat attack and inflict -6 attack and defense along with -5 speed. He gets 15 flat damage reduction and will make a free follow-up attack. For the special upgrade, Jeralt gets Conto remaining +1 with a minimum of Conto 2. He gets +5 stats in combat and deals 20 true damage per hit. Jeralt will then get Guard, and if he initiates, he gets Scowl. The Blade Breaker's reputation adds panic plus speed debuffs into the mix. Jeralt also tags the 3 foes with the highest attack speed and defense, so he can debuff a range of enemies. If the foe has field buffs, panic will turn those into negative field buffs. Those will then get counted for sabotage, so it's a very deadly combo if the enemy does not neutralize their stat debuffs. Now besides his AoE debuffing, Jeralt has fairly basic perks like a free follow-up, 20 true damage, 15 flat DR, and Conto. His Refine basically gave him Flow Guard 4, minus no follow-up. Access to Scowl with no rest check is always nice, but this will only occur when initiating, so Jeralt is incentivized to go out and attack. For a decently fitting special, Jeralt can use Shatter Slash. It has a built-in attack and defense sabotage effect, and that stacks with the status. To actually trigger the special, Jeralt will probably need Breath type cooldown. You can use Attack and Speed Bella as a C skill or Execution Breath. Jeralt can also go with momentum skills if you want to initiate. Assault Impetus can give DR Piercing, but you technically can use Impetus Guard. Stacking Scowl effects does work. Now if you're worried about speedy foes, Jeralt can always use Patience for a guaranteed pulse and follow-up. That may be more deadly, but he'll need to survive the enemy's assault first unless you want to bring Hardy Baron. For other skills, Poison Echo could be fun if you want to do a speed build or you just want to use it on the slower tanks. Jeralt can stack Momentum Echo with the B skills for an instant Shatter Slash. Since he has decent defense and res, you could also try Arm Shield plus Arch Rival with say Distant Counter and maybe Emblem Leaf's Ring. Patience would fit that type of defensive build more. On the flip side, for a more riskier setup, you could use the new Riptide Despair. It's no follow-up plus Desperation. It's not the fanciest game plan, but you could try to pair that with like Momentum Echo and Bellow for lots of cooldown. If you prefer a more supportive dad role, Jeralt can use any of the Hone Cavalry C skills for field buffing. Bellow's cooldown would be nice for him, but you can also use anything like Outcry Seize, Hone Assault, or Hone Insight. There's also a Defense Wave 4 or Breath of Life 4 for defense-focused skills. Under the general's buffing skill is Favor, you could pair that with the new Foresight Nyx, which is basically an anti-Heimdallr skill. With Favor and Conto, you could also throw in Shadow Assist C skills to reposition the team. Overall, Jeralt's debuffs can be scary, but if the foe neutralizes debuffs, then you're gonna need to hope Sabotage leeches it from nearby foes. With that in mind, going into attack first probably is the better game plan. Next, Colm is a demote Blue Dagger unit with all-right speed. I believe he's still the only demote/heroic Grail Blue Dagger, so that's something. Now, Colm has received a new weapon called the Lark Dagger. At start of each turn and after acting, inflict -7 speed and defense, exposure, and discord onto the closest foe and anyone within 2 spaces. For Colm himself, he gets +5 stats in combat. He then inflicts speed and defense debuffs equal to the highest debuffs on each of those stats between his target and surrounding enemies. Colm will get 7 flat DR and no guard as well. For the refined portion, Colm gets another +5 stats and neutralizes attack and speed debuffs. He deals 22 damage per hit and gets pre-impulses -1 instant cooldown. Generally speaking, Colm has a pretty straightforward weapon. We got speed and defense filled debuffs with speed and defense sabotage to double those up in combat. Colm's going to try to take advantage of his decent speed, plus improve his damage output. Exposure and the 20 true damage from his Refine should also help with that. Now, Colm also has a couple cooldown perks. Pre-Impulse can give a discount slaying, and then no guard for consistent cooldown charging never hurts. Unlike Rennick's more roguish support, I think Colm's Refine's trending more toward an assassin promotion, like Ascended Joshua. Colm doesn't have anything super crazy, but we can work with this Refine. TDL has his speed, no follow-up is good to have, so you can use the Dagger class's Waylay A skill, or you can use the new Swift Life. No Pulse Follow is another option that also has -2 cooldown on the follow-up. Since Colm's the only free-to-play Blue Dagger, you could try to lean into that with like Arch Rival, maybe toss an Arm Shield as well. To pair with Archrival's cooldown perks, Colm can get a bunch of cooldown manipulation effects. Lark Dagger plus Archrival could give -3 instant cooldown. Execution Breath with the Refine's no guard would be nice. Defensively, you could also get Archrival's guard and special uncharging when attacking. You then can use Lookout Smog for Scout to uncharge specials when the foe makes their attack. If you really want, you could also get defensive tempo from its Sacred Seal or Echo versions. Now for other skills, Comet also works as a high cooldown 40% DR special, although Colm doesn't have the highest base attack. Lethality is fun, but you wouldn't really want to get hit with that. Maybe you could use it with active Lookout's Desperation. For A skills, Rise Above is just pure stats with true damage and flat DR, but if you rather use Colm supportively, then like Jeralt, you could run Favor with Foresight Nyx. Colm also has Disarm Trap and Lookout's Distance Swap utility available. Now in the B slot, Colm can use Pair Up or Low Finish. He could also use the newer Taker Burst or Disarm Rumor skills, but the Refine overlaps multiple effects with those skills, so it's a little awkward. As for C skills, Colm can use Dual Support or Outspeed Wave 4 for team buffing. If you want 3 movement to get in and out, then you can also use Lookout Rush. For Attune skills, Time's Pulse Echo is always fine. Colm could also try Sly or Low Echo. As for Sacred Seals, any attack and speed boosters can work, but you can also use Flashing Blade, No Follow-Up, or even something like Desperation. If you're going to go with Favor, you can also use the Link Sacred Seals instead. Overall, Colm's Refine is okay, but nothing surprising. If we're being honest, you could probably just stick with Arcane Slicer if you already gave that to him. Our first out 5-star refines for Tine, who's a colorless infantry mage with good attack and speed. Tine's Thunderer Tome knows what it wants to do. At the start of every turn, Tine gets -2 cooldown. On top of that, she also gets accelerated specials. Tine will get +6 attack and speed and +5 defense and res in combat. She gets full DR piercing on every single attack, and when her special does trigger, Tine gets true damage equal to the max special cooldown value times 8. As for the Refine, at the start of either phase, Tine grants Desperation, Attack Liberate, and Speed Liberate statuses to allies within 2 spaces. She gets +10 stats in combat and deals 20 true damage per hit. Thunderer Tome has upgraded its own cooldown and true damage effects. -2 cooldown every turn with Slaying means Tine will easily pre-charge her specials. That's great because her specials get bonus true damage the higher its max cooldown is. Tine is pretty much a glass cannon, and to further that playstyle, she buffs up attack and speed in combat with the Liberate statuses. She also has Desperation for a potential follow-up 2-tap. Tine's Refine does seem tailored for the nasty Aria plus Demonic Force combo. Both of those skills also grant true damage based on their max special cooldown value. Demonic Force grants -1 instant cooldown, which means if you use the Comet special that also grants -1 cooldown, then every turn Tine will pre-charge Comet. With the Refine, Aria, and Demonic Force, Tine would get a casual 92 bonus true damage. You can easily crack over 100 true damage with skills like No Pulse Follow, Dual Support, and even the finished 3 Sacred Seals. Now if the foe is still standing, Tine can try to use Desperation for an immediate follow-up. Ideally she wants no follow-up somewhere in her build to not get stopped by any follow-up denial skills. Hopefully either Tine one-shots the enemy or she gets to use Desperation to finish the job, because even with Comet's 40% DR and Demonic Force's flat DR, I don't know if she's going to survive a counterattack. Pure glass cannon units are inherently risky, especially nowadays with all the ridiculous amounts of damage reduction flying around. With stuff like Miracle and Roy's Ring, you also can't guarantee a one-shot. Something to note is that true damage doesn't affect Comet's damage, so this special might do little damage versus high-risk foes. You could instead try Logic, Dragonfang, or AoE specials, but you may need extra cooldown sources. Now for other skills, Tine could also use Finish 4 or Perfect Attack and Speed / Swift Life for no follow-up. Rise Above can give her a better chance to tank a hit, plus you could use the Flat Attack for AoE specials. In the B slot, Tine could use Low Finish or Pair Up. Conjuring Breath could work too, but that's more for triggering a special on the follow-up. If you aren't going to use Demonic Force, you may need a replacement -1 cooldown skill like Time's Pulse. For C skills, if you can get Desperation off safely, then No Pulse Follow could be stacked with the Pulse Follow status to get -4 instant cooldown on the follow-up. If one special isn't enough, then a second one hopefully is. To deal with regular Miracle effects, you could use Fatal Smoke 4. If you prefer more support coming from Tine, then Dual Support should be decent with her Refine's more offensive statuses. You could also use the C slot for any kind of attack and speed self-buffs, like from good old attack and speed Oath. If you hate blue units, you could also stick with Tine's innate blue feud skill. In conclusion, Tine is going for the all or nothing instant special playstyle. If that fails, Desperation is her backup, but that has its own counters too. Our seasonal refine for this month goes to Summer Ashe, who is a decently speedy Lance Cavalier. Ashe's Divine Sea Spear has been updated. It grants +3 flat attack, and its main effect now gets shared with allies within 3 rows or columns. It also now buffs resistance. Basically, Ashe gives his team +3 to all stats and inflicts -3 stats on the foe. He then gets Freya's field buff stealing mechanic. If the foe has +6 attack, Ashe would inflict -6 attack to cancel it out on the enemy. He then gives himself or his teammates +6 attack. It's not actually stealing, but numerically that's how it kinda works out, and you do that for all 4 stats. On top of the stat support, Ashe will also provide breath type cooldown from long range. As for himself, Ashe will get 20 true damage and 15 flat DR, the usual stuff. For the refine, Ashe will get near trace 4 Kanto with slaying. He gets another +10 stats, and then the powerful feud effect to disable all enemy support auras. So basically, Ashe provides cooldown support and focuses on turning enemy field buffs against them. You technically should be able to stack that with dual Halloween Freya. That could be a fun combo. Now, besides stats, true damage, flat DR, and slaying, Ashe will add feud into his own combat. The rest of these skills aren't super standout, but feud has the potential to knock out a ton of enemy support abilities. It's an extremely good effect when every single weapon and multiple passive skills are granting some kind of long range support. Now, to bolster Ashe's combat, he would like no follow-up to use with his good speed. He also would appreciate some defensive perks since typically he needs to tank a counterattack to charge up a higher cooldown special. Now, to meet both of those conditions, you could use Riptide Guard, no follow-up, guard, and Scowl can maybe save Ashe from a special counterattack. With Slaying and Breath type cooldown, he can then trigger 5 cooldown specials on his follow. You can use the newer Wind Edge special, or Arch Rival's fine too. Shatter Slash is another decent 4 cooldown option. To round out this setup, you could use Excel or Rival Break in the A slot. Rival Break also borrows field buffs from the enemy, so it's kind of a good synergy with Divine Sea Spear. On the flip side, you probably don't really want buff neutralization effects like Low, otherwise Ashe's weapon won't have any buffs to steal. That means you kinda don't want Low Echo or Outcry Doe in the C slot. Ashe can instead use the other Hone Cavalry buffing skills like Outcry Seize, Hone Assault, or Inside Home. If you want an attuned X skill, the newer Puss and Echo would be nice for Ashe. 100% potent follow-up can give some extra insurance. For other skills, Ashe can technically keep using Blue Sky Gust since his Conti effect is better than his refines. If you want to challenge some red units, Arm Shield gives attack speed and defense, and Wind Edge plus Arch Rival also have their own weapon triangle effects. In the B slot, a fun combo can be Momentum Echo with the new Riptide Despair. Desperation 2 taps with Momentum and Breath type cooldown could trigger the 5 cooldown specials. You gotta be careful of Hardy Bearing though, and Ashe can't get no guard easily. If you want a mix of cooldown perks, you could instead use Impetus Guard, that has momentum cooldown with guard and scowl on the enemy. To regain no follow-up, you can instead use Oddspeed Wave 4, Flow Refresh as a Sacred Seal, or even something like Sly Echo. For other specials, Ashe could try Gale Force Mist for more actions. Haste Slice is a weaker and lower cooldown option, but it still gets 40% damage reduction. As for Sacred Seals, it's tough to beat Blue Skies 3. That being said, any attack and speed boosters would do, Squad Ace can work, and then for fun you could use Potent 3. Generally speaking, Ashe's Refine depends a lot on the enemy. You're kind of banking on them to have field buffs to steal from, and then if they use a lot of support auras, then the value of feud can skyrocket. Of course, if the enemy were to stack statuses instead, then feud's less effective. I mean, nowadays though, it's almost always going to disable something. It's just one of those effects every unit kinda wants to have. Our last refine is for Ascended Mareeta, who used to be the original holder of Vital Astra. Thanks to Excel type damage reduction, the era of low cooldown special spamming is basically dead. It doesn't matter how many specials you proc if they end up dealing negative damage. Now Mareeta's Ascending Blade is kinda taking that into account. For Mareeta and allies within 3 rows or columns, at start of every turn and after every combat, they get -1 cooldown. Everyone can get +6 stats in combat, and then when their specials do trigger, you deal 20 true damage. For other effects, Mareeta will get Slaying, 15 flat DR, and no follow. For the refined part, she gets another +10 stats in combat, 20 true damage, and the 100% potent follow condition. Mareeta's weapon has a lot of simple but useful effects, no follow-up, Slaying, 100% potent, and the usual true damage and flat DR effects. What makes her stand out is her every turn -1 cooldown for free, and then like times Pulse 4, Mareeta can also give -1 cooldown after fighting. To make up for the loss of Vital Astra spamming, Mareeta will tack on 20 true damage every time a special does trigger. I don't remember if there's been a support effect for basically the old Woe Dow or Wrath true damage, but I mean, another 20 true damage for someone like Tine could be enough to punch through all the damage reduction in the game. If you want to be funny, you could even stack these effects. Imagine 3 Mareetas giving each other 60 true damage. Silliness aside, in terms of builds, Mareeta has a lot of options being a speedy infantry unit. One effect you should try to get though is no guard or tempo for the consistent special charging. No specials means no extra true damage. Luckily, you can basically find tempo in every single skill slot. Duelist Blow, Dual Support, Tempo Seals, Tempo Echo. For just no guard, Mareeta can use Attack and Speed Taker Burst. This skill is fun if you can stack the Great Town stats, but Mareeta likes everything else as well. Attack and Speed Debuff Neutralization, True Damage and Flat DR, no guard, and then Preempt Pulse. If Mareeta doubles and gets hit, or she just triggers her 3 hits with Potent, then she should be able to trigger Arch Rival or Comet every fight. To fill in the build, Mareeta's then open for Rise Above's Jeralt stat bump. She has a Tempest Sea skill, so you may as well upgrade to the newest Thunder Spectre, 3 movement and Kanto to get in and out. Now there are a lot of other skills Mareeta can use. Low Finish fits her special focus playstyle, same with the Finish A skills or Sacred Seals. For a Jeralt speed build, Pair Up can help not get doubled by other fast units, plus full debuff neutralization is great. Another way to deal with debuffs is Attack and Speed Tenet Hone. Since that grants Bulwark, you could try to use that and mix phase with things like Counter Dough and Distant Counter. For specials, Shatter Slash is a lower cooldown option that could open up some double special potential. If Mareeta's just chilling, then she will pre-charge her special at some point. You can then give her Breath type cooldown or Pulse Follow cooldown to recharge. With her 100% potent hit, you can definitely score another special. Using Gus would make that even more likely. All in all, Ascended Mareeta's Refine's pretty simple, but it fits her special focused role. You'll probably need help if you want to trigger the higher cooldown specials multiple times in one round, like the good old 1 cooldown Vital Astro days. We have so many crazy cooldown effects nowadays though that it's definitely doable. Plus, if your entire team likes specials, then Mareeta will also charge them up and tack on her 20 true damage. That'll be it for this month's batch of refines. While on the simpler side mechanically, I do think the support perks given to allies are on the rarer side. Tine's Desperation, Ashe's buff stealing, and Mareeta's free cooldown plus 20 true damage are not things we typically can find. Like, you could stack Ashe's Refine with Hollowing Freya and double up that effect. Something like that could certainly be interesting. Next up, we'll go over the return of the Hot Springs banner. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.